what I was going to say is one of the really good things that happened in the cinemas last year was Avatar coming out and making such a big deal that it got so many people to see it, so that the experience was a good experience. Because leading up to Avatar coming out, there were still people saying that if you watch full-length movies, you'll have tired eyes or you'll feel nauseous or anything like that. And it's like, I'm not going to say there aren't issues with that, but it's, again, it's content. We had a talk earlier about if you put your finger in front of your face and move it backwards and forwards, keeping it focused, your eyes will feel tired. So if you're not very careful with how you create the content, then you can have that same experience. But I mean, James Cameron pushed it and made quite a long movie, and not too many people had a problem with it. So I don't think we're going for longer movies than that. Well, I'm going to do a special edition. But so, I mean, he proved that it could work reliably. So, and most people hopefully saw that. So,
films are typically what I would classify as short form, 2-hour entertainment, or at least finite.
Okay.
Whereas game types of titles, if we do our jobs right, are going to be much better and longer.
Yes.
And so, what risk do we have in this long-term exposure to 3D and possibly the legal ramifications that somebody turns around and says, hey, you know, my kid now has a problem because he's been exposed to this technology, and is that a death blow to this particular type of technology?
It's a very interesting question.
I would answer that and say no, and just leave it at that. I mean, there's actually a lot of studies that are going on, and I mean, I know that, you know, I'm not going to say it's lawyers that are going to come out and say you cannot come out equivocally 100% and say that it'll cause no damage. But I think most you know, ophthalmologists and optometrists will tell you that no, 3D inherently is not going to destroy your eyes. I've actually talked to a lot of doctors. There's a couple of doctors. There's one even in Canada. I wish I had his name. I don't have it in front of me. That actually is doing some research on actually using stereoscopic 3D to correct bad vision.
Yes, I've heard that as well.
The muscle, the more you exercise.
Exactly. And there's actually, if any of you are around here at the University of Austin, if any of you go to UT Austin, there's actually a researcher in the, I can't remember his name. His name is Baz Rockers, and Baz actually does research on stereoscopic vision. He's getting his PhD on. Let me correct that. He has his PhD. He's doing continuing research on it. And the whole point is is perceiving the way your eyes and your brain process images into 3D. I think most of the research shows that there's no long-term damage from the fact that you're doing 3D. It's inherently how you see. But, you know, like anything else, who knows, right? The FDA may want to come out tomorrow and try to regulate it, how much depth you can run at. The same analogy could be true about headphones, right? The fact that I can crank up my decibels to 140 and listen to it all day long, if I damage my ears, do I go sue Sony for selling me a pair of headphones that let me go that loud? Probably not. You would?
I would, but there are a lot of litigious people out here. And I would even say that, you know, whether it is warranted or not, that the damage has been done to this particular child is probably irrelevant. I think you're faced with these stigmas that you've already mentioned that, hey, if I go to this 2-hour movie, I'm going to get sick. That stigma is going to roll over into the legal side of things that you're going to be faced with these sorts of lawsuits.
I mean, the thing about this is, it's where there's a hit, there's a writ. I mean, it's like, so if something is successful, you will get a handful of people wanting to get some money out of it. So Facebook came in the press last week, didn't it? There's been a murder over Facebook. It's just like, well, that was, at the time, that was the last time they were communicating, was sending messages via Facebook. So suddenly, Facebook's created a murder. This is in the UK. But it's like, when there's something successful, there's always somebody looking around the edges and seeing if there's a story or bad side to it. But so 3D is definitely going to have those people chasing, saying, this looks like it's really successful, there's a lot of people making a lot of money in this, but it's new, it's untested, there's got to be some cracks. I mean, some of the cracks is, yeah, there's a percentage of people who don't see 3D. There's a percentage of people who don't see 3D in the real world, never mind looking at TV. What we're saying here is that we've got to make sure that so long as you do it correctly, then it should be very comfortable. But there will be a learning process, I think, over the next couple of years where we all get to see some fairly bad experiences.
How about consumers who are colorblind?
Colorblind?
Yeah.
That would have affected them with the old style 3D with anaglyph, but colorblind shouldn't have a problem.
But my experience is quite bad, actually.
Is it? Can you be polarization blind?
Yeah,
try shutter glasses.
Like the glasses, it's different. You just don't enjoy. I mean, I rather watch a 2D than a 3D.
So, have you seen it on a TV? Not these TVs, because these are polarized. But have you looked on a shutter glass TV? Because shutter glass shouldn't have a problem.
Oh, not. Without the specs, it's okay. Those with specs is horrible.
Yeah, but there's two different types of technology, and I haven't heard of it before, but it's possible.
Is it using these type of glasses, like the movie theater style glasses?
Right.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's a polarization, blocking one eye, the color might get different. I mean, you were going to say something.
Yeah. So we did run into some people who actually see inverted 3D, where they have to put the glasses on upside down to see it right. And I don't know, statistically, it's obviously a really small number of people, but we did run into people during the playtests where, Disney has some research on that, where there's a very small number of people that interpret polarized 3D incorrectly. Whereas again, with shutter glasses, it's a different technology. It actually blanks out the frame rather than only allowing a certain type of light in.
You can't please all the people all the time. There's always going to be something that you find that somebody's sort of reacts slightly differently. Another question.
Glass is free.
Glass is free, yeah.
Where do you see that going? I guess in terms of both group viewing and individual viewing, which technology do you see succeeding?
I'll answer that. I think glass is free for individual viewing makes sense. So there's products today that exist in the market. There will be a lot very easily created because, Neil talked a little bit about them. That the fact is, making a smaller glasses-free device is fairly easy, right? You can control the angle. It's very easy that if you get out of the perfect viewing alignment, you just adjust it. And there's products like that exist. Going up to a larger screen, there are challenges, and I know Toshiba did announce their product. They announced some glasses-free TVs today. There are challenges with that, right? Even on the content side. If you take for granted the fact that you have to fix some of the engineering challenges with the display. Think about content for a second. Every single movie that's created today is with 2 cameras, right? Perfect for passive glasses or shutter glasses. We are typically showing 2 views. As you move up to these auto-stereoscopic displays with no glasses, you're typically having to calculate more views to make it a better experience. No one in Hollywood is shooting Avatar, or not Avatar, with live action. Pick your favorite live action movie. They're not shooting that with a 9-camera array right now. So some of those in-between views are going to have to be created. If you even talk about gaming content, today, there is a performance hit moving from 2D to 3D, right? You have to render 2 images. Imagine now having to render 9 images, right? That does create some challenges.
Well, there's parallax barrier, there's lenticular lenses, and there's cameras that do auto viewing distance adjustments based on head tracking.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of those do you see succeeding for, an individual use?
I've been looking at this a bit, and I have to say, parallax barrier is quite interesting. If you can get it so that it would move with camera head tracking, then I think you could fix it so that it would work. But then that would only be a single viewer. So how would you get that kind of technology working for multiple viewers? So I think you could get it so that you can look at the screen in any angle, so long as it was only one person. So a variable parallax barrier, if you like. I can see that would theoretically work, and with the electronics business in its exponential growth and exponential money in this, I should think it will happen quite fast.
Well, that demo actually, Fraunhofer Institute showed that exact demo at CeBIT this year. They had a whole demo station set up for it. So yeah, I mean, what you described was exactly what they showed. It was
a guess.
They had a camera facing you from inside the device, and it tracked your position, and based on that, it would adjust the parallax barrier to your location. So.
Right, but actually having something that's suitable in the living room for multiple people is going to be a challenge. But having said that, the TV companies all know that it's a good challenge to chase. So I expect they're putting a lot of money into it.
And you know what? Are you in the industry or the press?
Industry.
You should. There's someone here. Come up and talk to me afterwards. I saw someone here in the audience. Maybe you should talk to as well. They have some other technology. I didn't want to call them out, but they might. Maybe you guys should talk.
Okay. Questions back?
I just have a comment. Growing up on 3D with the
anaglyph, red or blue.
And then the ones today, but I still think that we have to be smart about how we use this technology or any. And good examples are standing at the box office when a family of 3 comes up and chooses the 2D Toy Story 3 versus mine wanting to go into the 3D. And the difference between the way Avatar did these wonderfully immersive environments in 3D versus the gimmicky stuff like Piranha 3D and body parts coming at you, or a NASCAR engine coming out at you.
Oh, you've seen that movie.
Yeah, and I mean, and I go to all the 3D films, and I'm just saying that sometimes the way that films get developed or get a little gimmicky sometimes, and it turns the audience off. And at the end of the day, they probably go back and say, would I have rather spent less money and gotten that great story from Disney or DreamWorks or Sony? Would I rather have done it that way, or do I want to go in and spend extra money with glasses that don't fit, or see a gimmicky piece of the film pop out?
Okay.
It comes down to being smart.
But yeah, I mean, something like Final Destination 4 that you mentioned, or the slasher movies that he's mentioned, I mean, they're gimmicky. That's the point. It's like they found an extra gimmick for it. And it's like they made you jump before, they'll make you jump even higher in 3D. Yes.
I got to answer my pants again. I'm sorry. You know, one of my favorite 3D movies so far is Despicable Me. I don't know if you've seen that one yet. And that's like a perfect example of a movie that has out-of-screen effects. I mean, you know, those corn cob minions, you know, jumping out left, right, and center, and the measuring tape sticking out of the screen, and crashes, and the whole thing. So I think it would be, there's no cause to create limits as to what we can and can't do. What matters most is that it's comfortable, it's healthy, and it adds to the story. So when we're talking about gimmicky, I think it's important to define, you know, what we're talking about. In those cases, those out-of-screen effects were part of the story. It added to the story. You know, in gaming too, I'm not even convinced that video games should follow the same rules as cinema when it comes to 3D. Sure, in cinema you don't want to be reminded that it's a 3D experience, but gamers love those out-of-screen experiences. I mean, when there have been instances where some games were released with 3D capability, and gamers were really displeased that they didn't have the means to control out-of-screen effects. So we have to remember that gamers and gaming content is a somewhat different world than 3D cinema, and I think it would be a disservice to mix the two, as though the rules of one group completely apply to the other.
And even television, even a different experience there for gamer versus